This week, we've been exploring some intriguing and even in some cases suspicious aspects of the gold market. From Brian's insights yesterday, timing the cycle, to the historical parallels that Ryan Dinch drew on Monday with past monetary systems, and how the paper gold market might not be as backed up by as much physical gold as you might think. Well, today we're carrying on this conversation and exploration into the gold market in Australia. I'm joined by Callum Newman. Sorry, he'll probably laugh as well. He said he's had a bit of the flu, but it's given him the giggles. How you doing, Cal?
I'm very good, thanks, buddy.
Good. Well, look, Callum, you add another piece to this puzzle, focusing on where the real opportunities might be right now as well. And the timing couldn't really be better, right? The ASX action tells quite a story. While most sectors were mixed, gold stocks are absolutely on fire. And this morning's results from Evolution Mining, for example, paints a picture of what's driving this frenzy: record profits, record earnings, and record cash flows. But here's what makes this really interesting. Those numbers are already outdated because gold's up another 10% since then. So, Cal, what's going on? Give us the story from the way you're seeing it for now.
Well, it's exactly what you want to see as a shareholder, a potential trader. It's just gold keeps going up, and the gold companies that are producing just keep making more and more money. It doesn't get any better than that. So when you look around the other sectors of the ASX, it's very difficult to find another industry that's just got it as good as gold right now. I mean, they are in the absolute sweet spot. The Aussie dollar has come down. The US dollar gold price has gone up. That means the Aussie dollar gold price is absolutely booming. And some of those labor and inflationary pressures that were around in 2021, 2022 have come away. So the margins for the gold producers are just fantastic, and they're just making lots and lots of money. So tens of millions of dollars for some of the bigger stocks. So of course the market is going to chase companies that are making more profits. And the beauty of gold, and what I allude to in the article, is in theory there's no real limit to how high it can go. In one sense, because unlike industrial metals, there's no real end use to gold. It's bought as an asset, and so it can keep rising as long as the demand from around the world holds up, and it doesn't look like subsiding anytime soon. So we could see these gold companies make even more money in the next 6 months. And as of now, as you alluded to, gold's up again this year. They're going to make more money in the next 6 months than they did in the last 6 months.
Well, one of the extraordinary things that you mention is that the physical gold market, there's like 115% surge in COMEX vault holdings in just 2 months. Now, what was kind of interesting to me is that's even higher than during the pandemic. So what's your take on that side of it? That's got to be driving the price as well, at least in a speculation sense.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the point being that in the pandemic, obviously, when things traditionally gold is seen as a hedge against turmoil and that type of thing. So COVID came along, and people went to gold because of what was happening and the uncertainty, and then of course the money printing that came later. So the interesting now is that, as we alluded to last week, is that gold is breaking all correlations with interest rates and currencies. So it just shows you that the physical demand for gold is so strong that those previous factors that could hold it back or what have you are being broken. The people, institutional investors, central banks, retail investors want to own gold, and they don't really seem to care about anything else that's related to it. They want it, and they're bidding on it, which is driving the price higher. So when it comes to the share market, I mean, that's just perfect. That's what you want. If that price continues to rise, the gold stocks will go with it.
You highlight how Australia offers investors a unique advantage in accessing the gold sector. How do you see this home field advantage playing out in terms of the investment opportunities that you're seeing on the ASX today?
Well, I just can tell you that Australia is the premier gold destination in the world. I mean, there's Canada, of course, and there are gold mines in West Africa, what have you. But as a mix of both opportunity and risk, the sovereign risk here is really low. So we are just spoilt for choice in terms of gold projects, gold stocks. It's just amazing. Mostly in WA, but there are some in New South Wales, Victoria, and about the place. So we just have a huge spread that you kind of take for granted here in Australia. I mean, I just happen to be reading about this book. Oh, you'd appreciate this guy grew up in the UK in a crappy little village.
Oh, I know it well.
They don't grow up with the idea that there's this huge frontier of gold out there like we do here in Australia and all these other metals. It's amazing.
Mm.
So all you have to do is log on to the ASX and you can see just a huge spread of opportunities right in front of you. And they're all hustling now to monetize the assets that they've got or to go and find even better ones or to drill more holes to find more gold. So it just sets up the whole sector for positive news flow, for catalysts, everything you want to see as a share speculator. It's all happening in gold at the moment.
And what about the you mentioned the explosion of M&A activity, and Brian and I touched on this yesterday. But what patterns are you seeing in terms of where the smart money is positioning itself?
Well, I wouldn't say there's any pattern as such yet that I can identify. What we do know is that the gold companies, for a long time now, because you've got to remember, gold in Aussie dollars has been high for a long time now. So they
Mm,
have a lot of money on their balance sheets collectively, and a lot of them used to hedge their prices. That's not the case anymore. They're rolling off. So point being that they're capturing these high prices every day that they're sending out gold. So those cash hoards are just building bigger and bigger. So they just have a huge amount of firepower to go and buy projects. At the same time, somewhat paradoxically, the gold sector collapsed. The junior sector collapsed alongside the other metals in 2022 because of the high interest rates and the bear market at the time. So you just have this perfect dynamic of big gold companies with huge amounts of money with cheap junior gold stocks lying around unloved. And even now, the relative level of speculation that I've seen in the stock market is nothing like it was in years both pre and after COVID. It's still very subdued. Like there's huge amounts of money that could still come into this sector. So
mm.
if you're watching this thinking you've missed anything, I don't think you've missed anything at all. This is going to run for years.
You make another point about how margin expansion happens instantly for producers when gold prices rise. How do you evaluate which companies are best positioned to capitalize on that, or is there any ones that you?
Well, you just go off their numbers. I mean, the guys each company puts out its all in sustaining costs. Probably Brian's your better man to tell you who's got the best margins completely. But the bigger ones are all about $2,000 an ounce, I think, as a rough guide. 2,000, 2,500. So they're making very good money. The juniors are a different kettle of fish in the sense that they don't always have production right now. So it's how many ounces they've got and the level of confidence they have in those ounces, whether they're reserves or resources, which is a kind of different categories of confidence of how much gold they've got in the ground. But at this point of time, with gold this high and the bull market running like this, the market will be focused not just on margins, but how many ounces each company has, how quickly they can get into production, and is it underground or open pit, and the sort of practicalities of each operation. So there's always lots to consider, the metallurgy and all that with any mining operation. So that's where a guy like Brian is so helpful because he can compare all those things across the sector.
Final question for you, Cal. I'm looking at the current market activity. Then, are there any parallels or differences that you see today compared to previous gold bull markets? And I'll ask this question to the others too.
Well, I just alluded to it. There is just nothing like the level of speculation or volume going through the market at the moment relative to how strong the gold price is, to how cheap the gold stocks were, and how bullish the outlook for gold looks, and what's going on around the world. I would have thought that the gold sector would be absolutely heaving with volume by now, but it's not. Why that is, I don't know. I still don't know. But it's not to say gold stocks aren't rising. There have been some very good gains across the gold sector.
But they're more
Um,
at the higher end, aren't they, of the market
the bigger
caps?
producers, the little ones, are starting to rumble a little bit. But again, I mean, I've traded and been around the gold sector before. Like this is not the first time we've done this, and it still seems very subdued to me relative to how good it actually is. So I take it as a positive thing that this thing could really explode, but we'll just have to see what happens. But as of now, it's a great time to get involved.
All right. We'll leave it there. Check out Callum's piece today. You'll explain everything a bit further, and there's the link in the description. Tell us what you think. Thank you, Callum.
Pleasure.